Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go through some teams who are pretty much relegated, if not are already relegated in their respective leagues. And we're going to pick up a couple of gems that you can pick up for next season in the contender competition. And just before we get into the first teams and player guys, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe and hit that notification bell. So my first pick is going to be Granada in La Liga, and they're currently second bottom, and they are 11 points away from getting out of the relegation zone with 4 games remaining, and they also they're playing away at home actually to Real Madrid. So it's basically like 3 games left, because there's probably not a game they're going to be winning there. So they're all but gone, I think, unfortunately for Granada fans. But I think they pose some really good players here to pick up for the next season. Yes, they might go to a bigger club and whatever, but then you can still utilise them within those leagues. They move on to better and bigger competitions like the Challenger or potentially the Champion competition in Sorare. And as you can see from the top right hand side of your screen, you can pick up for the whole starting 11 for as little as €20. And if you're interested in rare, €162, which I think obviously is really good value. Yes, you've got to hold them till the start of next season. And yes, they are going to be classic cards, so no point picking up in season, as they'll have new in season for next season, of course. But to utilise these guys next season to potentially get you some classic card rewards or boxes, I think is really decent. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of players from basically each team that I believe are good value and people you should be picking up ready for next season's contender competition. And Murto Uzuni is one of them. So when Uzuni was with Granada, when they were in the La Liga 2, he's hit 23 goals with 5 assists. So that's 28 goal contributions in just the 38 appearances he had in La Liga 2 with Granada. And as you can see here from his scores, this is from his all-time scores for La Liga Smart Bank, obviously La Liga 2, hitting 23 goals, 5 assists in actually 35 appearances. If we were to just get rid of his sub appearances, you can see there doesn't change. So again, it's actually 28 goal contributions in 35 games. And I think for the solid price of £1.20 or £1.43, if you want to pick up his in-season card, again, I don't know if it's really a good idea or anything like that, but you know, each their own, and potentially you can gain a whole collection. It'll probably be easier to gain a collection ready for next season. Next is going to be the goalkeeper Augusto Batalla, moved from San Lorenzo in the January transfer market and has moved now, as you can tell, to Granada. He has put some really good scores up here, as you can see here, and yeah, obviously they've tailed off ever since he moved to Granada, considering they concede quite a lot of goals. In the 16 appearances he's had so far with Granada, he's had 11.8 with AA, which I think is not too shabby at all. So again, just to sum them up quickly, for £10.20 for in-season, obviously £10 for his classic. Again, I think, so in my opinion, provides solid value. The last player I picked from Granada is going to be Sergio Ruiz, obviously the midfielder of Granada, 62 L5, which is nice, and he's only basically £1 at the moment, which I think is really solid, considering he has an L5 of 62, even despite being in a poor team at the moment in La Liga. And these are his scores in the last 6 months, hitting a nice juicy 15.6 worth of AA over the last 6 months, hitting high scores of 97, 98, hitting some 60s and 70s in the meantime. And I just can't help but feel maybe this guy can do it properly in La Liga too. Now, obviously, any of these guys can move, anyone could move on, but you know, I think that's a risk you got to just take. But I still think it's a good calculated risk, because if you buy these guys for the intention of contender 2, for contender competition, you can always use them for Challenger or Champion, where people probably would pay a bit more over the odds for these sort of players. And the next team I have is going to be Lorient of obviously the French League, in La Ligue 1, and yeah, they are second bottom currently, and they do have only 2 games remaining. They have to play Marseille away in their next game, and they're still currently 6 points afloat to getting out of the relegation zone. Again, from what you can see again from the top right hand side of your screen, you can get the full starting 11 for as little as €17 or about £15, and also about £150 or €160 in the rare. So the player I'm sort of eyeing up for this sort of for Lorient anyway is Mvogo, obviously the goalkeeper, and yeah, I think he's also quite a solid goalkeeper. I've not watched him, but I'm just going off purely off red scores. So but again, I think for the £7-8 mark for either in-season or classic, which remember it's going to be classic anyway next season, I think it provides good value for someone who's going down to obviously the second tier of the French league. So SO5 scores puts up some decent scores considering again that they are second bottom of Ligue 1. Has a contract till June 30th, 2025, apparently according to Sorare data here as well. And he's only 29 years old, so he's got a good 5, 6, 7 years of utility as a goalkeeper, as that's the sort of typical age they at least sort of get to. Next, again, I think provides great value. Only 70p in both classic and in season. 31-year-old Laurent Abigel. The midfielder, I think, is a very solid AA scorer indeed, especially in Ligue 1, that he's done it in at the moment. And obviously, again, take in mind he's in a team where it's going to probably be difficult to dictate play and handle the ball as much as he probably would like to. But again, look, scores-wise, puts up really good solid scores. Only the 1 goal and assist as well, so he's not exactly decisive heavy either. But he's hitting 18.3 over the last year with Lorient. And the final player I have for Lorient is going to be Imran Louza. Now, this guy is only on loan from Watford to Lorient. They seem to be enjoying him at the moment from Watford. He has got a few goal contributions, and he is starting to get a run of minutes, consistent minutes as well in the last 6 or 7 games I should say. So this can obviously go one of two ways. You either get a player who's going to go back to Watford, and Watford were doing, I think, better near the back end of the season for the Championship, or you're potentially getting somebody who's obviously going to move to a bigger or better club, I guess you can say, for next season. Scores wise, if we get rid of his DMPs, because I believe he was out through an injury. So obviously this is if we were to get rid of his sub appearances and DMPs, because I believe he was out for a little bit through injury. So this is a combination. Obviously his current Lorient, which is near the back end, and near the front is obviously his Watford appearances. So yeah, he can contribute 4 goals, 2 assists. Two goals, 4 assists in 20 appearances. But again, that 11.7 worth of AA is solid. And if Lorient for some reason, or he wants to be able to go to League 2 with Lorient, and he enjoys himself there and prefers it to over Watford, I think, again, for someone who's 25 years old, I think he's going to provide really solid attributes in that particular league. But like I said, it could be a double whammy, and he could potentially go to another challenger or a champion. And now we have Cologne, obviously in the Bundesliga in Germany, and currently they are 6 points adrift of the relegation zone with only 2 games left, and they actually play Union Berlin, who are just out of the relegation zone next. So I think they're all but gone, to be honest with you. But they have some very solid players if they do stay with Cologne into the second tier of the Bundesliga. As you can see there in the top right hand corner of your screen, you can see you can pick up the starting 11 for as little as €27 or 27-ish pounds, and about £220 to 230 to 240 euros in the rare scarcity. And one of those solid options is going to be Timo Hubers, the centre back for Cologne, obviously. 57 L5, which is really solid, and £2.60 currently in the floor price, but only just basically £2 or £1.90 in his classic. Now my prediction is someone like this, who's about 27 years old, 28 turning, who can put up good scores like this, looks like a half decent player, probably wouldn't want to go down to the second tier of the Bundesliga, but again, you never know about his commitment to Cologne itself. But again, scores like this show he's a really good or decent prospect as well, or a good player at that age. 27, 28 is basically when you come into fruition, reaching your peak. So again, hitting really solid scores for a team that obviously can see quite a lot. And over the last year, hitting 16.3 worth of AA, and obviously hitting basically next to no decisive actions bar the last man tackle or clearance off the line. Again, goes to showcase the sort of scores he can hit when he has a really solid game. So if he does move to the second tier of the Bundesliga and has still a contract till June 30th, 2026, again, I think it's a really solid option. And very much like Hubers, his partner in crime, Jeff Chabot, again, the centre-back for Cologne, again, very solid option. £2.88 in the classic, again, a new season, but again, classic, only around that £2 mark. And as you can see here, in regards to his scores, obviously he gets and can hit some really good peaks, and that is more or less when he hits some good positive AA. As you can see there, 17.1 worth of AA over the last year, has had 3 lots worth of last man tackles and clearances off the line. Only the 1 red card, not too bad, in 32 appearances for a centre back. And again, someone who puts up that sort of score, who could potentially do this in the second tier of the Bundesliga, I think he will shut up shop pretty much every week. And then last and not least, I'm going to go for Marvin Schwab. Probably butcher that again, but goalkeeper, obviously, of Cologne. And you can get him for as little as £7 basically in season and classic. And for someone who's only 29 years old, has a contract till June 30th, 2027, so a long contract right there, and can still put up some decent scores like this. You know, obviously they're not amazing. You've got to take in mind this is all in the Bundesliga. So again, it's obviously the Bayern Munich, Dortmund, obviously Leverkusen, all these other teams. So when they go, when they basically go down to the second tier, I think they're going to have a field day with him, Hubers, and also Shabbat. If all three end up staying, I think they're going to keep clean sheets pretty much every couple of weeks at the very minimum. And last but not least, I'm going to go for Sheffield United, obviously, who have been guaranteed relegation to the Championship, having had a very, very poor season. €17 for the starting 11, or £15, and about €210 or about £190 in the rare scarcity. And I think I've chosen two good players to pick from the Sheffield United team, and that's going to be Gustavo Hamer. Obviously recently just moved to Sheffield United from Coventry, and now there's a bit of a mix with this guy because he is, I think, doing really well in a very poor Sheffield United team, one of the shining lights, only shining lights really, in that Sheffield United team. But there are links to him moving to the Premier League. I think he can move to like an Everton, a Newcastle United, which again plays in your favour if you were to pick him up, because I think he'll only go up in price if that is the case. Not financial advice, so make sure you do your own research. But yeah, only £4.30 in his new in-season card. Obviously, he wouldn't pay the £10 for his classic card, of course, but £4.30 I think provides great value. And let's take in mind as well, he has signed a long-term contract till June 30th, I believe, of 2027. So a good few years on him. So it's going to take some money, I think. So some clubs are going to have to dip into their pockets to get this guy out of his contract. But as you can see here, these are his scores all time in the Championship. Pretty much, I believe it's just all with Coventry. And you can see they're hitting some really good scores, 90s, 80s, a couple of 100s in there, as you can see as well. So it isn't shy of a nice high score every now and again. You see there, 19 goals, 22 assists, and 116 appearances he did make in the Championship. I think, again, just as really solid. And if we look at his time during the English Premier League, again, I think this has all been this year. Obviously, with Sheffield United having a very poor season, just showing that he's showcasing the sort of skill he has. So if he does stay in the Championship, you obviously can actually use him in Challenger, which is obviously quite decent. And then obviously, if he does move to a Newcastle, Everton, things like that, I think with a better flow of players around him, I think he's going to be a really solid asset to any team that sort of picks him up. And the last player is going to be Vinicius Sousa, again, the midfielder of Sheffield United. Again, I think he's got actually some good bit of skill on him, bit of flair every now and again, obviously, big bulky bloke as well. And yeah, I think he's really solid. Only 24 years old, so again, very much like Hamer. He's got a contract till June 30th, 2027, so a long-term contract again. But I think there will be clubs sort of trying to wanting to really pick him up at the end of the season, considering Sheffield are now relegated. Scores-wise, again, I think he's been in and out with injuries and things like this. But when he does play, he can play really well. And if we get rid of his sub appearances and also his DNPs, I think they're not too bad. For again, you've got to remember a struggling Sheffield side. So if he does just stay with him and go to the Championship, I do feel like he's got the tenacity, the aggression, the flair, and just the overall attributes to do really well. And the physical presence also, not to mention, in the Championship, that's going to be much needed. Hitting 10.5 over the last year, I think, is not to be sniffed at all. And yeah, I just think this guy provides really good value for only that £1.20 mark. And if you're new here, guys, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell to be notified every time I upload.